Good morning. My name is Adria, and I'm your Athens, Georgia Townie weather girl, and I'm here today to talk with you about the weather. Presently in Athens, Georgia, it's 73 degrees with relative humidity at 94%. Winds out of the south-southeast at 5 miles per hour. We have some rain outside. It's going to continue raining throughout the afternoon into the late evening hours. So at times this rainfall is going to be pretty significant. We may have lighter rain at times. There may be some brief periods, especially towards the 11 o'clock and 12 o'clock hours at night where the rain stops for a short time. All that's to be expected. In Athens, Georgia, we're expecting that we're going to get, we've backed quite a bit off of the rainfall projections based on current guidance and where the hurricane is right now and how it's doing. We'll get to that in a second. Right now, we're looking at potential of anywhere from 4.5 to 5.5 inches. Yesterday, there was a thought that we were going to have significantly more rain than what we have. We were thinking of like even 10 to 12 inches of rain. That don't think that's verifying right now, and the model data is showing that. Okay, so we're going to look at where Hurricane Helene is right now and what its status is. And this is this model view is trying to build right now. It's, I guess, loading new data. 1 second, let me see if I can just pause it here. So we can see here, there's a little bit of an eye wall here, but it's not very well defined. And that's good news for us. So Hurricane Helene took in some dry air as it went over the Yucatan yesterday morning, and it struggled ever since then to, number one, eject that dry air. Number two, to really get organized. The prevailing thought was that once it does organize itself, it would rapidly intensify, and that's why we had early projections of a Category 4 landfall tonight around 11 o'clock in Florida. I don't think that's happening now. I think that this is going to be at best a Category 3, maybe a Category 2 hurricane at landfall. And that's really good news for the folks of Florida and South Georgia. As we go into the evening hours, anticipate this storm making landfall. So we're going to look at one of the models right here. This is the Euro. This is from earlier today. And the Euro has this thing making landfall as a 957. That's a Category 3 hurricane. And it has it tracking up basically towards the Watkinsville area. And then it kind of then starts taking a little bit of a northwest turn and kind of goes over like basically Gainesville or so. It's really helpful here as we look at this this data right now. There's several different views we could look at, but I'll just use this one here as an example. So like a lot of folks, I didn't grow up around hurricanes, so I kind of learned this after the fact. But like, if you've never been around hurricanes, it's good to think of the system in terms of quadrants. And imagine a hurricane's traveling north, and all hurricanes are going to have a counterclockwise wind direction. So the wind's kind of going this direction. All right, so as the system is moving northward and the winds are going counterclockwise, you kind of have a convergence of winds and direction speed. So depending on how fast that system is and what the winds are, you have most of the strong winds are going to happen on this eastern side, and particularly on the northern eastern side right here of the hurricane. That's where the danger area is. So regardless of where this thing winds up tracking, and model guidance right now has it tracking again over towards Atlanta, over us, over middle of state Georgia. We don't really know for sure how this thing is going to track just yet, as models are still in disagreement about that. But let's imagine that it tracks over Athens, for example. That's going to mean that the worst of that wind is going to be, let's see here, let's use this as an example. The worst of the wind is going to be to our east, over towards Anderson, South Carolina, and over towards Greenville and Columbia. That's going to be where the most damaging winds are going to be found. So we'll clear this out. So this area right here is going to be where the danger area is if it were to track over us. That's not to say we won't have some strong wind gusts. We will ahead of the system. We will definitely have some strong wind gusts, but they won't be as intense as this area east of us. Likewise, if the system were to travel and basically take a line over Atlanta, that would put us in that more eastern quadrant and more of that danger zone. So that's what we don't want that to happen to anybody, but for us in Athens, this Athens, Georgia YouTube channel. So like we just don't want that. We don't want those kinds of winds here, because what's going to happen here is it's going to be raining all day long. And if we have these strong wind gusts of 70, 80 miles an hour, it's going to push trees over onto power lines. This is going to happen. And we could have the potential, and we still will have the potential for some intermittent, or rather sporadic power outages in our area. But I just don't think that we're going to have as big of a problem as South Georgia, where those hurricane force winds are going to be found. Okay, so we've talked a little bit about the rain, 4 to 5 inches of accumulation. We can look at let's look at one of the wind gust models here. This is the RRFSA model. It does a really good job with wind gusts. I'm not so confident that it does a good job as far as tracking where the hurricane's going to be, but let's just use this as just take it at face value right here. So we can see that Helene is going to make landfall. And as it makes landfall, there's some incredibly strong winds right here, 90-mile-an-hour winds in that Big Bay area. As it continues to go northward over Valdosta and Macon, you can see that there's to the east of Macon. There's not a whole lot out here in this part of the country. There's honestly, Augusta is over here, and Augusta is going to have some 70-mile-an-hour winds here. We have some 80-mile-an-hour winds to the right of that. As it continues going northward into Clark County, we're going to start to see some pretty strong winds. So if this were to take a track towards the middle of the state, this would not be good for us, because we just see some 70-mile-an-hour wind gusts. It would not be out of the question. It moves on out of our area in the early morning hours around 6 or 7 o'clock or so. We still have the chance of having some pretty strong wind gusts of 40 to 50 miles an hour. And again, all this is predicated on the idea that this particular track goes up the middle of the state. So if this goes up over towards Atlanta, we could be a little bit more, in that area of higher wind gust totals. If it tracks more towards directly over us, it's going to be better for us and worse for South Carolina. Okay, so as we look forward to the system coming into our area tonight around 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock or so in the morning, is when we're going to start really feeling the brunt of the system move into our area. Well, there's some basic tips here. So like we should always have, on any kind of storm like this, you should always have an app on your phone, a weather app that'll notify you audibly and be loud enough to wake you up. Because with this system, depending on how it tracks that eastern quadrant I mentioned before, those really high wind gusts and the heavy rainfall, there's literally going to be a chance of tornadoes. And the chance of tornadoes are going to be a little stronger further south and east of us, like down the Savannah area. But there's still a 2% chance of us having a spin-up tornado during this system as it moves northward over Athens, Georgia. So be sure you have a phone app installed. Make sure Do Not Disturb is turned off, because, it sucked to get a notification that just was squelched by Do Not Disturb, and, something happened to your house while you were in it. So I should have a safety plan for your house, and that safety plan, you should develop that you should not wait till 3 a.m. to figure out what your safety plan is. You should think about that now. You want to get into an interior room, and do so quickly. Get into an interior room of your house away from windows. If you have a basement, that's an ideal place to go. If you have little ones, whether they are humans or pets, you need to be able to quickly get them and take them to that safe area of your house as quickly as possible. And have that safety plan in play. I mean, if you want to just have a fun game of just running through that one day with your kids, might be good to teach them about emergency preparedness in that way. We talked a little about the power outages, and depending on, again, where this thing tracks, and if it tracks more towards Atlanta, we're going to be more in that area of potential, higher wind gusts of 70 mile per hour winds. And there's potential there that the trees are going to fall on power lines. We may have some sporadic power outages in our area. I think that's safe to say what's going to happen. But the widespread power outages are going to be pretty much in South Georgia and Florida. I don't think that we're going to look at having a week or two without power scenario. We may have a few days here and there, and I think a lot of people in our area are not going to lose power at all. There's a chance that we will. So if we do wind up losing power, don't open your fridge. Just don't risk. I know you want to reach in there and get a cold Coke or whatever. Just don't do it. Like you know how long the power is going to be. It may be off for a couple days, and if there's a chance you can salvage your food, you should take that chance. Don't open your refrigerator. You may go to the store and get some loaf bread, some peanut butter and jelly, maybe some canned goods or whatever, so you can literally you can get SpaghettiOs from the store. You don't have to warm it up. You can literally eat it straight out of the can. It's I don't recommend it. It's really gross. But that's food you can eat if the power's off, and sandwiches are a way to go, for sure. So just to recap, landfall tonight around 11 o'clock in the Big Bend of Florida. I believe this is going to make landfall as a strong Category 2 or a weak Category 3 hurricane. I just don't think that this is going to be as intense of a hurricane based on the current satellite information we're looking at. Right, this thing is just not very well organized. It's been struggling ever since it left the Yucatan. So it's really good news for us. So, making landfall is a Category 2 or Category 3. And then from there, we don't know whether it's going to track more towards Atlanta or if it's going to track more towards Athens. If it tracks more towards Athens, that's potentially good news for us and bad news for folks over in Greenville and Columbia, South Carolina. If it tracks more towards Atlanta, that's potentially bad news for us because it'll put us in the crosshair of those higher wind gusts of upwards of 60 to 70 miles per hour. Even if it did track over Athens, we could still be looking at some brief wind gusts of 50 to 60 miles per hour out of this and some very heavy rains. So be prepared. You can keep up with me. I've been posting updates on the Athens, Georgia subreddit. That's reddit.com/r/Athens. There's a live discussion thread there. We're posting to throughout the last couple of days, so I'll continue posting information there. I'll more than likely do another stream tonight. I might do a live stream tonight closer to landfall, so please make sure and subscribe, and if you like this content, please consider liking the video as well. I really appreciate that. I won't do these videos super duper frequently. I'm a busy lady. I'm obviously playing a band and I have a full-time job, and this is just a hobby for me. I'm not a full-time meteorologist, but I study it quite a bit, and I really love reading and learning about weather and sharing what I've learned with you. So I'm happy to continue doing that. So please consider subscribing, and that'll also notify you if we happen to go live tonight for the landfall of Hurricane Helene. All right, that'll be it for now, and we'll maybe see you a little bit later tonight. But please remember your do not disturb, and make sure you have that phone app installed to notify you of potentially severe weather. And we'll talk to you sometime soon. Bye bye.